Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.
Good day, ladies and gents. I'm Emilio A. Colon, and welcome to the EAC Show. Coming to you from sunny South Florida. I got Marcus Mack with me on the sound. Got Omar Blanco on video. Emilio Jr. is not with us today. And usually I have UCF activist, overall sports enthusiast, the big one, Cameron, dinner with me. But Cameron's on a business trip in Orlando. He'll be back next week. A lot on the slate today. A really great show we're going to put together for you guys. Marcus Mack, why don't you run down the topics of today's show for us, please?
All right, today we got three big topics. We got NFL, the Players Association, and is the players having their voice really heard? Okay. We're going to discuss that today. We're going to discuss MLB 2019 recap, 2020 American and National League previews.
Marcus Mack, I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, I know.
I can't. That's my thing.
MLB
man. That's
is definitely.
I can't. And you know what? The fans have been asking for it, and I've just been waiting for the right time to give it to you guys. So we're definitely going to discuss that today.
Okay. Yeah, and the third one is going to be XFL. You know, that's the bread and butter.
Our bread and butter right now, XFL, show. Without question.
XFL reminders of this week, picks, games, and times.
Okay.
So that's what we're discussing. And I guess the first topic is going to be NFL, Players Association. Emilio, do you think the players' voices are being heard?
That's a very important question, because if you see on social media and if you see on some of the talk shows or other, networks or whatever, there's very important and high key profile players that are speaking their voice and being adamant that the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement for the NFL, is not working in the best interest of the players, and they want to make sure that everybody's voice is being heard. Some of them feel like they're being represented, and they're using their platforms to be able to display this. J.J. Watt, Leonard Fournette, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Marquise and Mike Pouncey, both who I know, and shout out to both of them. Listen, at the end of the day, it's extremely sensitive subject, because you got guys that have been in the league trying to explain to the younger guys who haven't been in the league that long, like, yo, this is the best interest of all of us. And some of the guys that are younger and they haven't been in the league that long are trying to make sure that their bags get secured, because they want that financial stability. And it's a famous saying. I think it's like, one in the hand is better than two in the bush, or something like that nature, if not 100%. But like, that's how their thinking is. Their thinking is like, yo, let's secure what we can secure right now to make sure everything is okay. But what some of these elder statesmen and these veterans are trying to explain to them is, if we make a stance now, we can make a better future for players that are coming into the league. And we have to do this. We have an obligation to do this. Some people don't have a full understanding of what exactly is going on. And it's very important that some people are educated onto what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. And I think DeMarcus Smith, who is the Players Association Executive Director, and Eric Winston, who's also the president of the NFLPA, I think they're representing a majority and not the minority. And the minority in this sometimes is the really active players with the really big platforms that are speaking. So while some of them are explaining, well, you know what, the 60% of the league is going to be in a better situation, well, the 40%, they don't agree. They're like, no, they're just being naive, and they need to know and they need to be educated on what needs to be done. So, for example, I saw earlier today on social media, I saw Mike Pouncey shout out that, players are going to get paid in 2020 regardless. Regardless, they're going to make their money. There's money that they're going to play in the league. The league is going to go on. Nothing's going to happen in 2020. The season is going to happen. This is beyond 2020. They're trying to get a deal done early, so there is no work stoppages. Everybody's okay, secured financially from the owner's standpoint, player standpoint, from stadium workers, whatever it may be. They just want to make sure that there's no stoppage in actually the NFL moving like the machine that it moves as. What Mike was trying to explain to people that didn't understand or didn't get the gist is that there is situations in play, if there is a work stoppage, for players to still get bread, to still get money after the 2020 season. He explained to them that every player will receive $250,000, that every player will receive $60,000, which is $30,000 after taxes, from Madden checks, NFL Madden checks that have been withheld from the players that they put on reserve just in case something like this happened. So he's trying to do his best to educate some of the people that aren't educated on the situation on what is the worst case scenario. So stand up right now so we can benefit later. It's a touchy subject because I had a conversation today, and shout out to the person I had the conversation with. He didn't want me to use his name, but I had a conversation today, and he basically said, listen, at the end of the day, players are never going to see the stance of owners because they're not owners. That's just, he couldn't put it any realer than, and I had to agree with him. You're not going to understand an owner's stance because you're not an owner. When you become an owner, then you either on the player's behalf, you're on the owner's behalf, or you stand in the middle somewhere. Prime example, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is a former player who is now an owner of a team. How often do you see Michael Jordan come out and speak on behalf of the players? It's kind of a touchy subject for him. You understand? Because he really can't. Because, yes, he was a player and he saw things from one side, but now he's an owner and he understands the owner's perspective when it comes to certain things. So it's an extremely difficult situation. Now, this same person that I spoke to earlier today also understands the player stance. He understands what they're trying to do. But he also said that worst case scenario, the owners, if they wanted to be real, you know what, they can just tell them, hey, listen, we could just pick up the phone and call Vince McMahon because he's pretty much doing a really good job with the XFL. And now we have a league to where if you guys don't want to play, we could supplement the NFL for the time being until you guys agree to our stance. Now, I don't agree with that totally. That was just a funny joke that he thought like he wanted to come up with. But in all actuality, it's extremely important that they get a deal done because no one wants to miss football. Everybody wants to see football. I want to see football. The viewers want to see football. The players want to play, and the owners want to be able to have a product on the field to present and represent their specific regions and their sponsorships and so forth and so on. Now, I think that the NFL needs to do a better job of understanding how sports work. One doesn't work without the other. The players can't work without the owners. The owners can't work without the players. In one way, shape, or form, even if you replace them, if you're an owner, you still need players on the field. You still need a product to show. If you don't have that product to show, you're not going to get the big contracts from the from the networks. You're not going to get the gambling contract. You're not going to get sponsorships. You're not going to get all types of revenue and money that normally comes in is going to disappear. That's just the way it works. The type of product that you present on the field is what the sponsors want to represent overall. And if that's not good enough, then they're going to go somewhere else. And then all of a sudden, you're going to start losing out on that revenue. And when you lose out on that revenue, that's when the owners cry. They really start to cry. Oh, we can't lose sponsors. Remember when the Colin Kaepernick thing happened? All of a sudden, no, we can't do this. They started to panic. They started to go nuts. It's happening in the NBA right now with the China situation. They lost X amount of millions and millions of dollars. And now they're trying to, band-aid that relationship with China because China provides so much money for the NBA and revenue for the players, for the league in general, which ends up trickling down to the players. But in my opinion, I think what the NFL players are trying to do is great. They're trying to get 50-50. They really are. The owners are squeezing according to the Eagle screams to the point where they don't want to have them have 50-50. I mean, it's a very violent sport. I understand some of the reasons why the owners have, but it needs to be 50-50. It has to be 50-50 in my opinion. Also, the same person I spoke to earlier today tried to compare it to a business. For example, for you guys out there that work regular jobs, do you worry about how much money your employer is making? No. You get paid your salary, you perform your task, and you go home. This situation is much different. These players help this league make a lot of money. These players have something that employees at home don't have. Majority of employees, by the way. They have a union that represents them, that fights for their rights. They pay dues to this union to make sure that they're doing their job. And if they're not, then they have to go to their union reps and explain to them, look, Tell the union to do a better job because we're not happy. So everything has to be voted no. So if the players aren't happy with 50 or not happy with the deal that they're getting and they want 50-50, they have to constantly say no until they get 50-50. Also, there's a misunderstanding on people really seeing the bigger picture in this, whereas to some of the other major sports already get that type of money, and to why the NFL doesn't. If the other sports are doing it the right way, you're basically belittling our sports and saying we're not equal in comparison, or we generate the most money out of any of the 4 major sports, which is what the NFL does. It does generate the most money out of 4 major sports. Now, I agree with what Mike Pouncey said earlier today. We shouldn't have to play more games to see more money. The 60% have to play one more game to see an increase of $100,000 to their paychecks as a salary. And Mike said it best earlier today on his IG post where he said, look, I've been in the league 10 years. I've only played a 16-game season 5 out of that 10 years. Why would I want to increase my risk of playing to make more money? I don't want to do that. I want to make more money and play the same amount of games. I don't want to have to play an extra game or maybe 2 extra games to make more money. That doesn't make sense. He wants to be able to get 50-50. Now, if he got 50-50 split between the NFL and the Players Association, and then you want to add an extra game, that's different because you're already at 50-50. It's already split down the middle. The owners take the responsibility of sharing the profits with the players to a certain extent, and the players understand that. And there's players like Richard Sherman. I didn't even mention Richard Sherman because he's such a key figure in the NFL. There's players like Richard Sherman that know that, and they really fight for that. When Jamal Adams came out and tweeted it that said, hey, more games is more bags for everybody, Richard Sherman let him know right away, hey, young bruh, give me a call, man. I don't think you really understand this. Jamal Adams deleted the tweet, and I'm pretty sure Richard Sherman gave him some words of wisdom to teach him and let him know, like, look, this is for the betterment of the league. This is for the betterment of the future players that are going to come into this league. That little 14-year-old kid that's out there running routes, the lineman that's blocking in high school, the quarterback that's throwing passes that has no idea about what's going on right now in the NFL. This is going to affect that player that is nowhere near the NFL yet. So they have to do it the right way. Now, there's a little disconnect as well with them saying that DeMaurice Smith, which is the NFL Players Association executive director, he's trying to say that he thinks and he's confident that the players will vote in the direction that they want to vote in order to get a deal done very quickly. And from what I'm hearing and from my sources, that's not the case at all. That DeMarcus Smith is literally just trying to rush a deal to get a deal done because there's new revenue and there's new money that the owners know about that is coming in, and they kind of want to, like, I don't want to say hide it because that's a bad choice of words, but they want to kind of like mask it from the players. And the players are not dumb. The players are educated. They're very, very smart individuals, and they want to make sure that they're compensated properly. If you have new revenue streams coming into the league that brings more money to the league, which means more exposure to the league, then the players are sitting there saying, hey, remember us? We would like our cut too because we're the ones that helped this league get to this level. We are the reason why this league, or part of the reason why this league gets this new revenue stream from the gambling, the new TV deals. I mean, if you're producing a bad product, no one wants to sign a new TV deal. If this show sucks, no one wants to watch. It's that simple. It's not hard. So you strive to do your best, and with striving to do your best, you hope for the right compensation during that time period. Eric Winston, I saw his tweet where he sat there and he said, hey, he's not rushing anything. He's literally trying to figure out ways to, make sure that everybody knows that he's been trying to negotiate this deal for the past 10 months with players and hearing players' voices and trying to get the right type of feedback that he needs to get a deal done. And some people just feel like that's not true. Some people feel like, hey, you're just trying to rush this deal, get a deal done under the table, and just keep it moving. And that's sad. I think personally, the players should get 50-50. That's just my feel on it. I don't want any unhappy worker coming in and not being able to perform at their best because they're disgruntled, because they feel like they're not getting a fair share. It's extremely important. Marcus, I got a prime example for you, Marcus, and tell me how you feel about this. If you felt like this show wasn't good enough and I wasn't giving full effort, I would feel like I needed enough trust in you to be able to tell me that, correct?
Definitely.
And vice versa, correct?
Definitely.
So that's the same exact scenario that the NFL and the players are going through right now. The NFL players feel cheated. They don't feel like they're being respected. Like we're watching OKC in Milwaukee right now, and they don't feel like they're getting the same treatment as the NFL or MLB or whatever it may be, and they want it. And this is their avenue to do that. This is their platform to do that. I do want to see 50-50 in the NFL, and the reason why I want to see 50-50 in the NFL, because a much happier employee will produce a better product. I've always understood that and always known that. I would have guys sometimes come to my house, fix some appliances or whatever it may be, because I had an appliance company, and sure enough, when the guy comes in, if you offer that guy water, you made his day. Just offering him a water would make his day. So imagine what you can do to the future of the NFL and the present of the NFL if you do the right thing and you give the players 50-50. So right now, this part of the show is brought to you by ElCubanoSandwichShop.com. Use the promo code EAC and receive discounts on online pickups or delivery orders. Enjoy a café con leche or a natural pre-workout shot of Cuban coffee to start your day. Daily lunch specials and their steak sandwich is next level. Once again, use the promo code EAC. That's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com or 954-906-5110. Remember, use the promo code EAC.
El Cubano's Sandwich Shop. They have the best Cuban coffee.
Man, I was there the other day, not for nothing. I told Ivan, that was back in the kitchen, I told Ivan to make me an egg white omelet. And, yo, that thing was amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
That thing was amazing. And then mommy hooked it up with the café con leche, nice and light for me. Oh, man, it was... No, yo, I'm telling you, I don't even have to tell her about the sugar. I don't even say how many sugars I need.
They make it just perfect.
Just perfect.
Just right. Yeah,
just perfect.
All right. So subject number 2 is actually one of Emilio's favorite topics to talk about in the world. Actually, anything. Above everything, he loves baseball. He loves baseball. And what we're going to be tackling today is 2019 recap, 2020 American and National League previews. Emilio, let's hear it.
So, in 2019, the World Series champions, some people think it was the Houston Astros. It actually wasn't, with the amount of cheating that they did, but it wasn't. It was the Washington Nationals who defeated the Houston Astros in 7 games. Well-deserved. They played an amazing season. They didn't even finish first in the division. They finished second in the division behind the Atlanta Braves. But it's going to be very exciting to see, with all this cheating scandal and everything that's going on, how the actual play of the Houston Astros on the field is going to be. So 2019 brought us a lot of good stuff. We saw a lot of great baseball. And in 2020, we're expecting the same thing and more. So in 2020, we're going to break down each division, who is going to lead that division once again, who might some of the sleepers be in those divisions, and go from there. So we're going to start off with the American League. And in the American League, obviously, you got the American League East. And the American League East winners last year were the New York Yankees. And I don't expect anything different this year. I think the Yankees, even though they're off to a horrible start injury-wise this year with, Luis Severino being out, James Paxton is going to be out until at least May. Giancarlo Stanton is now probably not going to be able to start the season. He's probably also going to be on the DL for opening day. But I still think the Yankees have more than enough firepower. I think they're a really good baseball team, even though I really don't like them personally. I have no bias. I respect the game that much that they're that good. And then the second team is going to be a tough one because you're either going to see Boston or you're going to see Tampa Bay. Last year it was Tampa Bay. I think personally it's going to be Tampa Bay once again. I think Tampa Bay and Kevin Cash, I think those guys do an amazing job with such limited resources that they have in Tampa Bay, because no one goes to those games. Like, when the Yankees come there, they sell out. Or when Boston goes there, they sell out. But normally, no one goes to Tampa Bay's game at Tropicana Field. I'm also excited to see what the Toronto Blue Jays would do. Will Toronto and their young guns with Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero, would they actually be able to supersede and take over the Boston Red Sox for that third spot? It's going to be really tough because Boston's going to be fighting for that second wild card with Tampa, but I think Tampa edges them. But it's going to be really nice to see what can the Toronto Blue Jays do, and the Baltimore Orioles, just the Baltimore Orioles. They need a lot more time. It's going to take at least 3-4 years to figure that situation out over there in Baltimore. So then we got the American League Central, and last year's American League Central winners were Minnesota Twins, and I don't think it's going to be any different this year. They also added Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain, and Josh Donaldson is just an animal, and I think once again that the Minnesota Twins are going to win that division. They did a really good job. Rocco Baldelli as their manager last year, and this year they're going to do the same exact thing. I think they win the division. Second place team last year was the Cleveland Indians. And I think that changes this year, in my opinion. I think Cleveland got weaker with losing Corey Kluber. I think that the Chicago White Sox actually supersede them for that second spot. And the Chicago White Sox is my American League sleeper team to watch. I think they have it. You know, a lot of young players. Tim Anderson, Abreu's a little bit older. But I think they have that power and that pitching staff to be able to supersede and take it to that next level. I think they're in that hunt. I think they end up being in second place in that division. Also in that division, I mean, there's a lot of other weak teams that you have. You have the Kansas City Royals. You have the Detroit Tigers. There's not really that much in that division to really try to tackle the top teams, which is probably most likely going to be the three, which is going to be the White Sox, the Indians, and the Minnesota Twins. So we're going to go out west now to the American League West. And obviously the winners of the American League West were the cheaters, the Houston Astros. They're not going to be able to cheat this year. So we'll see how they play. I still think they win the division. They're good enough. They have the players between Correa, Altuve, Gurriel, Springer. You know, they just, Verlander with their pitching staff. McCullers is finally back this year. I think they get it done. I think they win that division. Second place would probably be the Oakland A's, in my opinion. Oakland is always a really good team. They're always battling for the wild card spot. They do so much with such limited resources. They've had to spend a little bit more money in the past couple years because Major League Baseball clamped down on them that they couldn't be cheap anymore. So I think the Oakland A's will probably be the second team in that division. The one sleeper team in that division I'm hoping and I'm praying is the Los Angeles Angels. And the reason why I say that is because I just want to see Mike Trout get into the playoffs. I'm tired of seeing the best player in baseball out after the end of the year every year. Mike Trout, hands down, and I don't care who's listening, whether you disagree or agree, you're entitled to your opinion. Mike Trout is the best player ever of any era. The things that he does is astronomical. He is our version of Elon Musk. He is that good. He is really that good. And I think that him not being in the playoffs just does baseball such a disservice to the game because he is the best player, in my opinion, of all time. So I'm hoping and praying that the Los Angeles Angels actually make it to fight for maybe that second or third spot in that division. And then in that division, you also got who? You got the Texas Rangers. I don't think Texas is going to be able to do anything in that division. Seattle Mariners, the Seattle Mariners ain't going to be able to do anything in that division, in my opinion, either. I think they just need to make overhauls. Josh Daniels in Texas, I mean, you were great a couple years back when you had Beltre and those guys, but I think your time has come. And then in Seattle just, they change rosters like every year. I mean, there's like 15 new guys on that team like there's no tomorrow. So now we're going to get into the National League. We're going to start off with the National League East. In the National League East, you got the world champions, well-deserved, Washington Nationals. Whether Houston Astros cheated or not, doesn't matter. They beat them. It's irrelevant. Juan Soto, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, really, really good team. I think me being a Met fan, I hope my team can compete with them for first place. I think it's going to be extremely difficult. They are a really, really, really good team. But I see the Nationals winning the division. Hopefully us coming in second place or Atlanta actually coming in second place. Atlanta won the division last year. Let me make that correction. I apologize. Atlanta won the division last year. I'm sorry. But the Washington Nationals won the World Series. So when you get to Atlanta, Atlanta's stacked. You got Acuna, you got Albies, you got Freddie Freeman. You know, they're just ballers over there. Soroka is the pitcher. You got just straight ballers over there. But me being a Met fan, I can't root for ATL. I just can't. So it's literally, in my opinion, I think it's Washington, us, and Atlanta. I could be wrong. It could be Atlanta, Washington, us, or it could be me and everybody else underneath. I don't think Philadelphia does anything special, and the Marlins are just the Marlins. I mean, they just have a really, really nice location for a stadium. It should be the Orange Bowl, honestly. I think Jeter's still probably like 2-3 years away from actually making some ground in the National League East. So then you got the National League Central, which is completely and utterly owned by either the Chicago Cubs or the St. Louis Cardinals. And St. Louis led the division last year. The Cubs didn't make the playoffs. I think that was more because of the disconnect that they had with John Madden, their former coach, and just things not being, really cohesive. I mean, they have baller players on the Cubs. You have Rizzo, you have Bryant, you have Baez, you have Contreras. Their pitching staff is immense with Lester leading the pack. David Ross is their new manager. Let's see if he can get the job done. I think it would be a lot easier to play for David Ross than it was for John Madden because after a while it became tense. That ability to try to constantly win the championship became harder and harder and harder. I think this year, those guys end up being a little bit more laid back and they get into the groove of things. Do I think they top the Cardinals? Absolutely not. The Cardinals are the cream of the crop, A-plus organization, top class, do things the right way, have great players. Yadier Molina has been there forever. He's the catalyst. He's the leader of that team. And I think the Cardinals just really do a good job from top to bottom. From the manager to the GM to scouting new players, talent, all that. I think the St. Louis Cardinals are just the epitome of what you want a major league organization to look like. I think they come out on top in that division. My sleeper team in the National League is actually the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds have a lot of young talent with one veteran presence, in my opinion, which is Joey Votto. He's still a really good player. And Cincinnati has a chance to really make some ground and make some move and challenge for a wild card spot, in my opinion. I think that one of the wild card spots obviously come out of the National League East, but maybe that second wild card spot could come out of the Central, whether it be the Cubs or whether it be the Cincinnati Reds. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they do absolutely nothing this year. I think they just change over from GM and manager and all that type of stuff. I think they're still a few years away. They're probably closer than the Marlins, but I still think they're a few years away. And that's pretty much it in the Central. I don't think I forgot anybody. We got the Cubs, Cardinals, Reds, Pirates, and that's it. So then we're going to get to the National League West. And the National League West, obviously, you got the big money spenders, Showtime in LA. You got the LA Dodgers. I mean, of course, you got the LA Dodgers that feel like they got cheated out of a World Series. They're the biggest and most vocal team that has been going on through this whole scandal with Bellinger and Turner and everybody speaking about what happened with the cheating scandal. Listen, at the end of the day, just play ball. That has nothing to do with Kershaw not getting it done in the playoffs. Clayton Kershaw is an amazing pitcher, probably the best of all time. But when it comes to playoffs, that man develops a wedgie. He really does. Like, he struggles. And I enjoy watching Clayton Kershaw pitch. Nothing against the man. I think he's amazing. But you got to perform when the bright lights is on. And he's just one right now that struggles when those lights turn on. They have a really good team. Seager, Turner, Bellinger, so many Betts now. Mookie Betts went over there. So many really, really, really good players. They also got David Price to help out with the rotation. The pitcher from the right-handed pitcher, Buehler. Buehler's a beast. Buehler's really, really, really good. I don't think really anybody in the West really challenges them. You got Arizona, maybe. Maybe. Just a real, real long maybe. Colorado, I don't think, does nothing. San Francisco probably does nothing as well. They have a first-year manager with them. I mean, he managed in Philadelphia, but he's managing with them this year. And then the Padres, the Padres are just so much immense talent on that Padres team. I think they will be good in a couple of years. Tatis is just phenomenal. Fernando Tatis is just an amazing, amazing shortstop. You got Eric Hosmer playing first base, Manny Machado playing third. They have the pieces. The question is can they put it all together? Can they really put it all together? Can that GM, that organization just literally build that young talent and bring it up and sit there and say, all right, we're going to ball now. We're going to go all out. We're going to handle business, and we're going to try to become one of the elite teams in the National League. It's really, really tough. I'm so excited about baseball. I sent a couple of Instagram stories to a buddy of mine just hearing, baseball sounds. I heard Tebow hit a home run. Clint Frazier hit a home run. So many players just knocking the ball out of the park in spring training, and just that sound off the ball coming off the bat it's crazy. It's just a feeling that's unexplainable. Like, cut grass is great. Ballpark hot dogs, Cracker Jacks, beers, soda, everything, you name it. It's just, baseball to me is just an amazing, amazing game. You have to go out there. You have to watch it. You have to be able to enjoy it and embrace it. And I'm glad that we're getting past all of this scandal talk and the games are starting to start, because in my opinion, that's what's the most important part of the game. The beauty of the game is actually watching it and seeing it being played. Do I have anything else? Let me see. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. No, I think that's pretty much about it. Right, Marcus?
That covers MLB.
Yeah, that pretty much covers.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I probably went on a rant for a little bit. Like, what I'm saying? It's understandable. But I'm just so passionate when it comes to MLB.
Yeah, that I know.
It's been something that's been passed down from my generation, that I passed down to my son, because it was passed down from my father, who passed it down from his. And it truly is America's pastime. I don't know how to explain it any other way. Like, I have people, and shout out to those people that text me. I want you to engage on social, because, troll, whatever you want to do, engage it on social. People text me and they're sitting there and they're telling me about the show and saying certain things. And I listen to your opinions and I value your opinions and I agree with everything you're saying. I don't disagree with you not one bit, because they literally are so thankful that baseball is literally right around the corner. They're so happy that baseball is around the corner. So this part of the show is brought to you by ElCubanoSandwichShop.com. Use the promo code EAC and receive discounts on online pickups or delivery orders. Enjoy a cafe con leche or a natural pre-workout shot of Cuban coffee to start your day. Daily lunch specials and their steak sandwich is next level. Once again, use the promo code EAC. That's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com or 954-906-5110. Remember, use the promo code EAC. Now, Marcus, let's get into our last subject of the day, our bread and butter. Tell me what we're going to talk about today.
The XFL.
The Extra Fun League?
Extra Fun League.
The Extra Fun League.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this week's picks, the games, times for the XFL. I'm quite sure you have all the information we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emilio.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically we're gonna have, remember, Saturday's game is at 2:00. It's on ABC, and it's the LA Wildcats who are traveling to New York to play the New York Guardians. And the LA Wildcats are -7. And both Cameron and I are both on the LA Wildcats -7. We really both think that the New York Guardians aren't being able to do anything. Matt McGloin is not going to play, so it's going to be Williams as their quarterback. Josh Johnson really did play extremely well in the last game. Trey McBride did really well. The running back Carter had a crazy game, flipping all over people and all types of stuff. And shout out to him too, because we reached out to him on social media. He did look at our story. We didn't get a comment from him, but, all that will come in time. So the second game on Saturday's slate is going to be a 5 o'clock game on Fox, and that's the Seattle Dragons playing the St. Louis Battlehawks. And that St. Louis game is the biggest line. I've seen it fluctuate 12, 13, whatever. It's at 12 right now. But the St. Louis Battlehawks are -12. Cam has the Battlehawks because he said that he went against them last week. He didn't want to go against them again. I have the Dragons. Now, I think the Battlehawks win the game, but I don't think that they cover the spread. I think Seattle Dragons are good enough to not lose by 13 points. So that first game on Saturday, I'll be covering on IG, on the EAC IG story, and Cam will be covering the second game. So then on Sunday, you have on FS1 at 4 o'clock, which is kind of a later start than normal. They've been starting at about 3 and 6. This week, they're doing 4 and 7. So on FS1 at 4 o'clock, you have Mr. XFL, Mr. Excitement, Mr. MVP, Mr. All-World, PJ Walker and the Houston Roughnecks playing against the Dallas Renegades, Mr. Stoops and Landry Jones. And that's a -1 line, and it's favored to Houston. And I have Houston, and Cameron has the Dallas Renegades. So then the last game of the slate on Sunday at 7 o'clock on ESPN2 is the DC Defenders versus the Tampa Bay Vipers. And I have the Tampa Bay Vipers, and so does Cameron. And that line is also -1. And we just both think that the Tampa Bay Vipers can't go 0-4, especially when they've played so good. They just can't buy a win at all. Like, they lead the league in offensive statistics, they lead the league in defensive statistics, and they still don't have a win on the season. They have to be able to finish the game off. I think they get a win. Cameron agrees with me. I know Cam also sat there and said, listen, he just shouted me out earlier today. He said, do the best that you could do on the show, holding it down by yourself, and I pretty much think I did. Guys, I need you to do me a favor, though. I need you to comment, like, subscribe. The EAC Show on Instagram, EAC Show on Twitter, on YouTube is the EAC Show. Make sure you hit the notification button to be up to date with all the shows. Marcus Mack, I appreciate you. Omar Blanco, I appreciate you. That's going to conclude episode 9. Make sure you check out episode 10. Emilio Jr., I love you. We'll see you guys. Good night.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.